Assalamu alaikum, peace and blessings. You're tuned in to the Sajda Saturday Morning Coffee Talks, where we talk about life, love, and business.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
You belong to yourself. You're an independent people, created from the nation of free people.
Yes, sir.
You don't need to go nowhere but to yourself.
Yes, sir.
There will be a great separation.
Yes, sir.
So I said, it is on now.
The college is meant to prepare you for your future. That the time dictates that if we don't do something for ourselves as a people, we will be destroyed. And the aim of the enemy right now is to take us out.
We have God with us. We have Him as our guide. Yes, sir. We don't have to stand around here and ask the question, what must be done? Yes, sir. Get up and let's go and do something. Yes, sir. We cannot sit down. We cannot lay down. Yes, sir. We must get up. Yes, sir. And go to work.
Do you know what real joy is in life? envisioning something and bringing it into reality. That's real joy. Do you know what the next step in joy is? Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell in unity.
Tonight, you need to fasten your seatbelts. We're going to hear from some of the greatest minds in the world. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of trusting our future and the future of our children into the hands of those who don't love us. I believe we need to revitalize black leadership.
Assalamu alaikum, family. Peace and blessings. Peace be unto each and every one of you. I'm a little discombobulated today, huh? Look, let me tell y'all something. I'm so ready for today. Fasten your seatbelts because I got some information that literally was downloaded to me this morning. Literally. Anyway, so welcome to the Sajda Saturday Morning Coffee Talk series on the proper handling of people. This is based upon the book and subject taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I'm applying it here to entrepreneurs and leaders in the business world. And we are now in week 5 of the series. In case you didn't know, I'm your host, Sajda Wendy Muhammad. A little bit about myself. I'm an international business and real estate developer and consultant and an urban historic preservationist. The mission of my brand is to help those of us in marginalized communities to become what? Happier, healthier, wealthier, and to experience more love. One of the methods includes doing for self, thinking for ourselves, and not being afraid to infuse spirituality into business. I've spent my entire life in business. I've built and managed over $500 million in projects and professional business endeavors, both in the corporate world and a few for myself. I recently added new services to my portfolio that include work in the preservation and hospitality industry. And my greatest venture is the development of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House Museum and the renovation and restoration of his former home. We are working towards completion of the museum. The finish line is in sight, and we are in a fundraising phase of the project. To become a sponsor, send us an email to sajdahouse@gmail.com. And to donate or purchase a coin, take a look at the ticker at the bottom of the page. Make sure you like and subscribe to this page and hit the notification button so that you are alerted anytime we go live. And please go back and check out past episodes. We had a great episode this past Thursday. Excuse me, with our young sister Amira the Builder. It was really, really a beautifully spirited business conversation that I really thoroughly enjoyed. So welcome to those of you who in the chat. Let me see who we got in here so far. We got Sister Alicia X, A Woman's Strength. Assalamu alaikum. We got Brother Lamont says, good morning and assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam, Brother Lamont. Mom says, good morning to everyone. Carlos Jennings, Brother Carlos says, assalamu alaikum from Detroit. Wa alaikum salam, Brother Carlos. Sister Sandra D says, peace, love, and blessings, family. Peace, love, and blessings to you, Sister Sandra. Sister Don Rashay Muhammad, one of our Sajda House experience reps, says, assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam, Sister Don. Who else we got here? I see Brother Ronald says, assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam. I see Sister Alita says, assalamu alaikum and Saturday blessings to everyone. Wa alaikum salam and Saturday blessings to you too, Sister Alita. Sister Makeda Muhammad says, may the peace of Allah be with everyone. And may the peace of Allah be with you as well. What kind of tea y'all got today? I just got some herbal tea. I all of a sudden just had this allergy attack the last couple of days, just sneezing. And I realized that it was something that I had eaten. So I've just been flushing the last day or so with lots of herbs and teas just to cleanse. But what about you? Listen, I want to begin today with a phrase that dropped into my consciousness this morning. That phrase is Allah's power is manifested in the destruction of falsehood. That's the title of section 3 from Surah 53, which is entitled The Star. You see, it is important that we work on ourselves and focus on healing because we are living in the days of manifestation where God has come to make himself known to the world. Many of us were born to bust up the falsehood that's been around for centuries, and in some cases for thousands of years. Our presence today, our businesses and our work is designed to liberate others and ourselves from predatory experiences and environments. We're here to find new ways to do business. Business, as we know, the minister teaches us, is the activity of life. Now that may sound too big and too lofty and too religious for some of you. And you can't see how this relates to proper handling of people. But you see, you and I have been prayed for and prepared to make a difference and bust up those old models of falsehood. And we are sitting on our jobs or in our businesses frustrated because somehow it seems as if we are stuck. We feel like we're on a hamster wheel. We can't seem to get ahead. We just knew we'd be making millions by now, but we can't get past a certain point. You're trying to do for self, but it just ain't working. Maybe because you're promoting a business model that Allah has already said is out of here. Maybe you're promoting a business model that no longer works. Maybe you're in the field that you're in so that you can design a new way of doing things. Maybe you are more than a business person. Maybe you're an inventor. That's somebody's word right there. But you see, it's important that we clean ourselves up, not just physically, but we have to clean up the way we do things and the way we handle people and the way we think. Because when you have been called and you have a big assignment, you can't move forward until you clean yourself up. You walk around here acting like a common person when God is trying to make you up into himself so that he can make himself known through you. You may have been born to change the world. You may have been called to a certain industry so that you can facilitate a new way of doing things. But here you are so busy trying to follow somebody else's formula. Fussing and pushing a square peg in a round hole. Following a business strategy that was designed to confine you and your people. Not understanding that the coming of God comes with the busting up of old business models. He told us that. You see, old business models no longer work. We live in a world today where old business models are being challenged every single minute of the day. New products and innovation are being introduced into the marketplace every day. But here you are, old school, submitting yourself to an old business model when you're supposed to be the one that Allah is going to give the new business model for your industry to. Look, take real estate, for example. No one would have thought 40 years ago that you'd be able to purchase real estate online. Who would have thought back when they built America that you'd be able to purchase stock or insurance online? Remember when the insurance man used to come by or encyclopedia salesman would knock on the door? Well, we don't need that today. We can just buy the stuff online, for example. See, you don't have to be old to be old school in your thinking. And it's okay, because we were trained that way. Who would have thought that you could drive a car but never even go to the gas station? But what are we doing? What are you doing? The illusions that have been created in business and business methodologies are what have been used to prey upon vulnerable people for centuries. And as people become more aware Of course, the models have to change. But what are you doing? Still pushing up against that old business model, still trying to be a member of the old boys club. So here you are trying to push your divine, beautiful self into a business model that Allah has already deemed outdated and irrelevant. But here you are wondering why things aren't working out. Allah is busting up those business models today. His power is manifested in the destruction of falsehood. I want y'all to think about that. See, because tomorrow we're celebrating the Day of Atonement. See, we should already have been praying and working on atoning with ourselves as well. When's the last time you apologized to yourself for not being yourself? When is the last time you apologized and atoned with yourself for being other than yourself? Or are you steady trying to push that square peg in a round hole? You're not going to be successful like a lot of these other people in business if you have been called to make a difference. You got to clean yourself up and step up and make a difference. And I think that today's subject is so apropos for the proper handling of people series that we're engaged in. You got the Day of Atonement. You got the chapter 5 or episode 5, as we're calling it, of proper handling of people as part of the October 16, 1995 Million Man March and its themes of atonement, reconciliation, and responsibility. The 8 steps in the atonement process were presented by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to promote peace and settle differences. How much peace are you promoting within yourself? Have you settled the emotional differences within yourself? Have you settled them in your family? Have you settled them in your businesses? Look, these steps, these 8 steps, can be utilized as leadership development in your business. They can be utilized as team building, and they can be utilized as overall personal development for your teams and your employee. Atonement is simply reparation for a wrong or injury. And many times in our businesses and organizations, there are the elephants in the room or issues that have gone unresolved and that prevent people from working together as a team, create deficiencies and ineffectiveness, and ultimately impact the bottom line of the business. Listen, let me tell you something. We are in a position where as we're working to build these businesses, we're pushing, we're fighting, and sometimes we're not always the best people. So this is a good time in our business for us to atone with our managers, atone with our business partners, atone with our employees. It's time. Let me give you the 8 steps. And my link is in the bio. You saw the commercial. If you'd like to see me come into your business and help you create these leadership strategies or to just consult your business, I'm happy to do that. Here are the 8 steps. Number 1, someone must point out the wrong. We walk around in business, we just walk past each other, not realizing that as the owner, you just cussed out your manager the other day. In fact about it, you keep cussing that person out. Or maybe some of the employees have done one another wrong, or maybe you overlooked something that a person did. There's something that you did wrong as an owner. Maybe there's something your managers did, something your employees have done, but somebody has to be confrontational enough in a respectful way to point out the wrong and say, you offended me. I didn't like it when you cursed me out when I didn't meet that sales goal. I didn't like it how you treated me when you gave everybody else a bonus but didn't give me one. This is a great tool for our businesses. Number 2, you got to acknowledge the wrong. You got to say, yeah, you know what? I acknowledge it. Number 3, you have to confess the fault first to Allah God and then to those that you offended. Number 4, repentance, a feeling of remorse or contrition or shame for the past conduct that was wrong and sinful. All of this can be turned into a team building exercise. Number 5 is atonement, meaning to make amends and reparations for the wrong. Number 6, forgiveness by the offended party, to cease to feel offense and resentment against another for the harm done. Sometimes that's the hard part. We get so excited, like, I'm going to tell them, I'm going to say it today. They didn't give me my bonus, or they cut me short, or they did this or that. And when the person says, you know what, I did. Here's your check. I'm sorry. Or you know what, I did. I'm going to publicly apologize to you. You got to be willing to say, okay. Reconciliation and restoration is number 7, meaning to become friendly and peaceable again. Don't mean you got to go necessarily back to being a ace boon coon, but you got to be friendly and peaceable. And number 8, the perfect union with Allah, God, and with each other is where we need to focus. But I want to also say to us, because a lot of us are around here angry. Why are we angry? We angry because certain doors in business and in life have been closed to us. But let me tell you something that I do. I thank Allah for every door he opened, and I thank Allah for every door he closes. Because oftentimes in the closing of those doors, it was either to give me time to learn, give the enemy time to exhaust their efforts, or maybe even turn me in the right direction. So I'm grateful for every door that's open and every door that's closed. And we as employees oftentimes are sitting up in our companies and we're resentful because nobody made us a manager. We're resentful because we didn't get certain levels of responsibility that we thought we were supposed to get. We're mad about it. This is a time for team building and atonement. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to a quick commercial, and then we're going to jump right into chapter 5 of the proper handling of people. Don't go anywhere.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that history develops the springs and motives of human action, which display themselves most powerfully in the destiny of man. History actually motivates and stimulates human action. Sometimes you may not know what to expect from yourself, but if you only could read the autobiography of someone from among your people who has achieved, then that tells you what is possible to do. Black people in America have labored without understanding the realm of possibility for black people. And because we don't know what is possible for us as a people to achieve, we labor under the misconception that the accomplishments of Caucasian people should be our guide. And as a result, we keep on trying to be like them rather than trying to be ourselves. This is a result of being robbed of history.
We're back. I'm your host, Sajda Wendy Muhammad, and welcome to the Sajda Saturday Morning Coffee Talks. Today, we are celebrating the beginning of the Day of Atonement, which is actually, we got a big celebration tomorrow at the mosque, and then Monday is the Day of Atonement for us. No work, just atoning, apologizing to ourselves, atoning with others. For some of you all, this is a little bit too spiritual and too religious, and you just can't get with business like that, but you can disconnect. It's okay. We're about creating these new business models. And what we're doing today is we're talking about how we can take those 8 steps of atonement, and we're fusing them with chapter 5 of the proper handling of people as taught to us by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that I'm adapting for us as conscious entrepreneurs and emerging leaders. This section just resonated with me, and I said, look at this. We're on this during the weekend right before the Holy Day of Atonement. Chapter 5 is entitled The Road to Satisfaction. Or, to use the definition of satisfaction, the road to fulfillment of one's wishes, expectations, or needs. Satisfaction also means what is felt to be owed or due to one, especially in reparation or an injustice or wrong. This is why I think this chapter pairs so well with the 8 steps of atonement. Like I said, this chapter to me can be used along with the 8 steps of atonement at leadership conferences, for 360 feedback, team building, professional development. I encourage us to incorporate this in our human resource business models. It begins with the section recognition of an individual. Now, I'm going to tell you all a story, and I want you to follow the story. The story is not designed for you to feel sorry for me or whatever, but I want you to just see how the actions of someone can impact a person both at work and at home. This section title may seem somewhat unassuming, but recognition is critical to the proper handling of people. Recognition, type that in the chat for me. Recognition is critical to the proper handling of people and can even be the source of conflict that may require atonement. Okay? When you disregard someone and you don't recognize a person as an individual, that may be a space where that person is having an issue with you and they may need to atone with you because you literally have not even recognized them in the workplace, but yet you're the supervisor or yet you're a coworker. Recognition is the identification of someone or something or person from previous encounters or knowledge. Have you ever encountered someone and then later on they act like they don't even know you? How disrespectful is that? It's one thing if they just don't recognize you, but this might be somebody that you worked with, or somebody that you work with and then you got a promotion and now they act like they don't know you. Or you're doing well on the job and now they want to act like they don't know you. Or as a way to disarm you, confine you, make you feel insecure, and to just dog you out in the workplace, you got a supervisor who just ignores you. That's especially disturbing in a professional setting, because usually in a social setting, you can shrug it off, unless it's like your husband or something, but you can just go, whatever. You know, they jealous, they tripping or whatever. But professionally, it can be quite alarming. And it's a tactic that is used in corporate America where you are just disregarded and ignored. It's disrespectful. It creates sometimes even a sense of security. And sometimes we just keep moving along trying to push ourselves into that business model, but really when in fact, they're ignoring us for a reason. We get the niceties, but you're really being ignored because they know that if they pour some attention on you, you might take over, and that real calling on your life to change the industry just might come to fruition. So they ignore you. I remember, here's a story. I remember when I worked in public accounting. It was my first job out of college. I was really nervous. I was the only Black person at the firm in the midst of an environment that was known for hazing first-year auditors. Good old boys club. So to a Black person, this hazing felt very personal. And it was difficult to figure out whether it was just first-year hazing or disregard, disrespect, and abuse towards me as a Black woman. There was a manager that I was assigned to work with on a project. She was a white woman, short, little, very fine blonde hair. And she was the most racist, ugliest person on the planet. I mean, she was so damn mean, and she treated me so badly. I got a poor rating on every job I got with her because honestly, I was so consumed with her treatment of me when we were out in the field. See, when we were in the office, she would just ignore me. But I didn't think nothing of that. But when we were out in the field and she had to be managing the project, she was a dog. I was so consumed with that I couldn't think about anything other than whipping her, you know what. I couldn't even focus. She graded me so poorly, and it probably was right because I couldn't even perform because I literally each and every day would just be consumed with what I wanted to do to her. She'd give me instructions and then claim that she didn't say that. When we got in the office to debrief on the client, she acted as if I was not even in the room. It was the ultimate form of disrespect. She never acknowledged my existence except to tell me how poorly I had performed on the job. But listen to me when I tell you that we plan, and Allah is the best of planners. Let me tell you what happened. So she treated me like crap. I was able to complain eventually to one of the partners who made sure that I was never on a project again with her because I think he was afraid that maybe some kind of lawsuit could be coming down the pipe. They conceded to hiring me a little bit under duress because I was offered the job in Chicago. Chicago told me they had to hire me in Indianapolis, and I had to go through some political means to get them to even talk to me. So I pushed my way into the door. So I was already in war mode, and I wasn't surprised by how I've been treated because I thought that was kind of how it was supposed to be. But anyway, this particular person, everybody else was relatively nice. But this particular person, I think they initially paired me with her because they figured there wasn't a lot of women. And I think they figured, well, okay, we'll pair. I think she presented herself like somebody who would be a nice person. But when I tell you she acted a whole backside in that office, rolling her eyes. If I had stuff that came out on the copier, she'd take it off and, dishevel it. She would scoff at me. And when I walked into a room, and literally she wouldn't respond to me. She wouldn't make eye contact with me in any meetings. And when she did, you know how she addressed me? She called me hun. You know how racist it is for a white person to go, hey, hun. Well, it can be racist. So one day, so all this went on, right? And so finally, I complained, went to HR, because I knew that I didn't have the tools to strategize around her. And the only thing I could think about was whipping this girl's butt. But about 10 years later, one day when I landed my first, it was my first big project, not my very first project, but my first big project after working at the National Center. It was a big project, and I was called the in charge, right? And the company had offices here in Chicago and in New Orleans. And I had prayed to Allah, and I was worried about going back into corporate because I was excited to have my first independent project, but I kept envisioning this mean chick and thinking about how I would handle it this time if this happened again. So now it's 10 years later. And I was real clear that I would just whip her, you know what, if I ran into her again on this type of new project. I had made that declaration to myself, like, I ain't holding back no more. I ain't that little girl. So one day, that had to be a little longer than 10 years. But anyway, suffice to say, it was over 10 years later since I had last seen this woman. So one day I was in New Orleans helping one of my clients to hire, this particular client, to hire for a permanent position. And oftentimes as interviewing can be really grueling. So they'll bring us in to assist them with some of the behavioral interviewing, some of the technical interviewing, and that kind of thing. And then it also helps the HR department to be able to say, look, it was a non-biased interview, blah, blah, blah. The client had chosen the resumes ahead of time. So I didn't pick the resumes. We just got them and knew when the people were coming in. We got the resumes and the schedules. And so he was the guy's vice president. He picked the people he wanted to interview. And he and I were cool, but we didn't have a lot of conversations with each other. It was just cool conversations, but not very surface level conversations, we weren't friendly. We were cordial. So he asked me to participate in the interviewing process with the client. So together, he and I spent all day interviewing, and the resume of the last person was handed to me. And guess who it was? It was the chick who had mistreated me so badly on my very first job out of college. I recognized her name. I said, look at that. So I went into the vice president's office and I told him about her. And he said, well, let's interview her anyway. But I figured, I said, okay, he just gonna interview her anyway. Who knows? Who knows what's going on? If he's undercover racist too, I don't know. But I can't even tell you. This chick she would come into the office. We wearing suits, right? Back then we wear suits. But after work, when she getting ready to go somewhere, she got on T-shirts with swastikas and Confederate flags. That's how she would walk through when she's getting ready to leave and walk past me and look, and I just be going, oh, I want to get her so bad. Anyway, I went into the VP's office, told him about her, and he said, let's interview her anyway. She walked into that office, and guess who she overwhelmingly now recognized? Me. She went into a rant before anybody could say anything to her. She went into a rant about how great friends we had been back in the day, how we had worked together, and that I was one of the smartest persons she had met. We had such a great time, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just staring at her, and the VP, my client, he just staring at her. And he got on his BlackBerry and literally started texting somebody. Then she ranted about how beautiful I was. You know how they do, how people do when they think that's going to help them score some brownie points. And I remember what I said to her. Because when I looked over at him, I saw he had his legs crossed and he was on his BlackBerry. I said, he just going to let me handle this how I want to handle it. I said, okay, this is how we're going to do this. And I said, oh, so you recognize me now. See, that ignoring me and that lack of recognition in this section of the proper handling of people talks about was so disrespectful. So I said, oh, you recognize me now. I said, it's so funny that back when you were so busy with your racist bullying to antics, that I just knew that if you ever saw me again, that you would not even look at me. But today you are overflowing with recognition. Said something like that. I said, well, I recognized you then and I recognize you now. And I could never in good consciousness recommend you to my client because you just might bring that racist and bullying stuff that you did back in the day that I believe are still a primary part of your personality. She was like, she tried to say, no. I said, be quiet. I said, I know that you're still the same phony bully. Because you had the unmitigated gall. See, that's a black phrase. You had the unmitigated gall to walk up in here and pretend in my face. Today, I would say you playing in my face like we were damn near best friends. Did you think I wouldn't say anything? Did you think that I'd return your fakeness with the same phony response? Shame on me for making you think that you could even get away with that. But that right there lets me know that you are the same arrogant racist. Now, I could teach you how you should have played this, but you don't deserve my coaching. And I look over and I'm thinking he gonna pop in. He's still on his BlackBerry like, doo-doo-doo. I said, so you can leave or sit here and listen to me talk about you. And he just kept pecking away on his BlackBerry, and she just snatched up her little stuff. She had a little portfolio, and she ran out of the office. Ooh, but talk about, Allah preparing the table and just letting you just kind of settle. Needless to say, she didn't get that job. So you better watch. You got to watch how you handle people. Who would have thunk it that she would have relocated to New Orleans? She would have relocated from Indianapolis to New Orleans and ran into me when she trying to get her new job in her new city. Woo, look at God. Anyway, see, so the proper handling of people teaches us foundational principles on how to recognize people. Basic, real basic. Number one, the messenger says, learn the person's name and use it. Number two, help them to work independently or on their own. Don't make them a robot. Don't make them dependent on you. Help them to work independently, because in the flow of their independence, as they do their job, can come revelation for how to build a better business model. Number three, listen to their ideas. Number four, recognize them away from the office life. Realize that they're human, they're people, they got a life. Security is also part of the road to satisfaction. I'm gonna run through this because I've been talking too much. Security is the part of the road to satisfaction. In this example that I gave you, not only was recognition a problem with this person, but she impacted my sense of security as a new graduate on the job. How did she violate that principle? Well, according to the proper handling of people, as taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, here is how you help a person to feel secure. Number one, teach them properly. Did you hear me say that this woman gave me the improper instructions? She gave me incorrect information, including one day the wrong address to a client so that I'd be late. She even gave me the wrong audit program one time. I worked the entire audit off of the wrong program. And her job as an audit manager was to also teach us neophytes, but she violated that principle. Is that happening in your company, in your organization? You got people in your company that you put in leadership positions that are hazing new people that come in, biting on them, pouring venom into them. That could have went so many different ways wrong. Number two, criticize them sparingly. She criticized me every chance she got, even when my mistakes were her fault, like giving me the wrong client address and causing me to show up late, and then not even giving me a security pass, so I had to stand at the door and wait for somebody to let me in. See, my EQ was so low at this point. I told y'all I was so consumed with whipping her. You know what? I couldn't think my way out of the box. What a valuable lesson she taught me. Number three, to help a person feel more secure, praise their good work. Number four, show them that their work is important. People want to know that they matter and that they're significant. Number five, make sure your instructions are clear and that they are understood. Engage in dialogue and even ask them to repeat the instructions back to you so that you know that the expectations are properly reconciled. The worst thing in the world is to be working at a company and have have a company and have your employees expect one thing and you expect something else, or vice versa. Number six, expect of them to provide incentive. Expect enough of them to provide an incentive, but not more than they can deliver. So you want to give an incentive, but don't make the goal so crazy and way out there that they can't meet it. And you know it, and you know they'll never meet the sales goal. So you know they'll never get that bonus. These are some of the predatory practices that happen in businesses. And sometimes when we come over, we start our businesses, we bring those old negative business models with us. Sometimes we see an employee performing exceptionally well, and we matriculate through the organization prematurely. oftentimes without proper training. So we take a good employee and make a bad manager or a bad supervisor, and then we chastise them for it. The next aspect, according to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, is offer them a sense of belonging. Number one, make them feel wanted. I remember talking to a client one time who literally seemed like they hated their staff and the people who work for them. And I said, what kind of productivity do you think that you're getting out of these people if they feel like they're not wanted? They just going to be here to get their check. And the minute they get a chance to turn their back on you, they're not going to hesitate. So make them feel wanted. Number two, help them to make friends. Edify your staff members to one another. Number three, point out their contributions to the group. And number four, make them feel like your business is a team and that they are a valued member of the team. Let's understand that there are four major issues that can severely impact our employees' contribution to the company. And you should spend time developing policies and procedures that support your employees in these key areas. A lot of companies will design their entire benefits package, if you will, around these four components. Number one, health. Are the work conditions safe and conducive to wellness, mentally, physically, and spiritually? Are they being bullied? Don't let workplace bullies spoil your employees. Don't allow them to abuse, and don't you abuse them or prey upon them mentally, physically, spiritually, or even sexually. Sexual predators run rampant in businesses and organizations, and they can quietly tear down your entire organization. Number two, finances. Try to offer an opportunity for your team to make extra money. Give them incentives and bonuses. Share the revenue. Share the blessings. Number three, offer assistance in mental health because their domestic affairs are important. And be someone that they can come to if they're experiencing some form of abuse outside of the office, or if they're going through something outside of the office. Care about them. And number four, be focused on what's going on in their heart. What are the affairs of their heart? What's happening with them? How can you support them? You may not be able to meet. You may have so many employees. You may not be able to meet with every single person, but you can offer benefits. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad called the next part the believer official agreement. But for the sake of those of us who are applying this to our business, let's call it your company's official agreement. Keep in mind that when you are building a business, you need people who can make a commitment to the development and growth of the business. And you have to create a safe, emotional environment in order for them to do so. Now, I'm not telling you to get so soft that people run over you. You got to have rules and boundaries. Part of love and part of building is setting up rules, setting up boundaries, having policies and procedures, but make sure that the work environment is safe. Because you may be opening a business and it may not be the same as working downtown on a cushy job with a corner office. So offering additional incentives and helping employees to access experiences that they would not get in a corporate setting is key. See, when we work in the corporate world, our jobs descriptions are very defined. And unless we're at a startup, we pretty much will only just do that, group of tasks. But at a startup, especially in Black businesses, listen, you may get an opportunity to do things that you never would have done were you working in a very strict, large corporate environment. So here is the agreement. Number one, the welfare of the group or company comes first. This is so important because business warfare is real. And as a budding business, you will likely be challenged by vendors, customers, competitors, and even your own employees. It's important that your team understands that they must protect you and the company against those constant threats, even if it's nothing more than simply letting you know that something ain't right. They should always have the ongoing concern of the business in the forefront of their minds. Number 2, the executives or managers should lead the group and be responsible for its welfare. Leadership must be strategizing and thinking at all times. It's so easy to sit back and let your ego take over, thinking that things are running on automatic pilot or turning the department or team into your little kingdom. But then you're not creating that safe environment so that you can grow the company and you can change that business model. Number 3, the employees should follow the official's lead and obey instructions. Do you know how difficult it is for some people to follow instructions? Do you know that some people are not comfortable with Black authority or female authority, for example? Did you know that this is a blind spot for a lot of people who don't even realize that this is a problem for them? These people will oftentimes, they'll reinvent the wheel. You give them instruction, they're over there doing what they want to do instead of following the instructions. They'd rather do it their way than follow your instructions. I can't tell you how common this is. They will undermine you and talk against you as soon as you turn your back. So this agreement has to be in place. And the way you make the agreement in place that they should follow the official's lead is you got to build that into the policies and procedures. Insubordination, while sometimes it might be subjective, can be the vein of the no, I won't say the vein. It could be the downfall of the company. And let me tell you, I cannot tell you how rampant it is in Black organizations, because a lot of people are getting used to being leaders and a lot of people are getting used to Black leadership. Number 4, everyone should do what they can to make it advantageous to be a part of this company. So I like to utilize and have other team members, if they got the right spirit, to be the welcome person for that new employee. Sometimes I like allowing other employees to be interviews, to participate in interviewees, I should say. Why? Because it's good for them to pick their team member sometimes. So these are all kind of different techniques. I'm rushing through this last part because we need to get out of here. So what do we do as owners and leaders, and what do we owe our employees? We owe them the ability to do our jobs. We must take responsibility. We have to be fair, and we have to focus on the advancement of the welfare of the group. That your employees have to see you working to maintain the ongoing concern of the business, because what are they thinking about? Am I going to have a check 6 months from now? So they don't want to see you engaging in destructive behavior. Remember that Allah's power is manifested in the destruction of falsehood. So bigger than these techniques we talked about, you just might be that industry disruptor that's going to change the business model that will change the world. It's happening every single day in business, every single day. All right, y'all, that was episode 5 of The Proper Handling of People. Let me see your feedback in the chat. Let me know your thoughts. I see y'all with lots of emojis, so everybody must be thinking, yeah, Brother Lamont said, my story was the ultimate revenge. Allahu Akbar. Yeah, Allah set that up, because I couldn't have done that. I couldn't have done that better. All right, family. So remember, I seen somebody in the chat say tomorrow they're going to apologize to yourself. Why don't you just take a minute after we end this podcast to just do some work on yourself? Before we start the atonement process with others, let's atone with ourselves. Let's atone for the success that we wish we had, that we don't. Let's atone for the mistakes we've made. Let's atone for the people that we let take advantage of us. Let's atone for what we've done to other people. First, with ourselves. Let's atone. Just look in the mirror and tell yourself, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm sorry I haven't treated my body properly. I'm sorry I haven't taken care of myself. I'm sorry I haven't loved myself. I'm sorry that I stayed in a situation that I knew I shouldn't have stayed in. Whatever that is. But let's do the work. Because a lot of us are sitting up here really mad at ourselves because we're like, man, I thought I was going to be a billionaire by 30. But you ain't nowhere near it right now. And you're really mad. But if you begin by apologizing to yourself first, then you can figure out what's wrong and why you might be in a field that you're never going to get there unless you change the way you're doing things. Or maybe this field was just a stepping stone. See, one thing about me, I've always been very, very open to whatever I go into being a stepping stone for the next thing. I've always been very, very open with that. I never dig my heels in to the point where I'm pushing a square peg into a round hole. And then I've spent years and years and years beating what they call a dead horse. I said, okay, Allah, you wanted me to learn that so that I could move on to this. You wanted me to learn that so I could design and build this. See, it's an evolution, an evolutionary process, but you got to apologize to yourself. You got to sit down and have that good old conversation with yourself, and you yourself and Allah have a just sit down and talk. Say, Allah, you know, when I really thought that, I never thought that I'd be here. But I'm here. Is there anything in me that I can improve upon to get me up out of this situation? What can I do better? What would you like from me? What would you like to see me do? Why did you place me here? What do you want? Because I want to make your wants my wants. I want your desire to be my desire. How can I reconcile that? What can I do? What am I doing, if anything? And if I'm not doing anything wrong, if I'm not off the mark, help me to settle in with what you want me to see. But take that time to do that work on yourself. Write down your goals. Make a vision board. I'm pointing to my vision board as if you all can see it. Make a vision board. What is it that you want to focus on? And there's nothing wrong with that vision board changing. Sometimes you can create a micro vision board. You may have a big vision board, but you say, you know what? Right now, what I need is love. Or right now, what I need is money. Or right now, what I need is X, Y, Z. And then you create that micro vision board around that micro goal. But apologize to yourself. And look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm sorry and I love you. Take yourself through those 8 steps of atonement and atone with yourself. See, a lot of us are carrying stress. We're carrying excess weight because we're uncomfortable with ourselves. I've been there myself personally, where I endured something for years and years and just kept pushing until I just said, I didn't even know that the pressure was so great until Allah showed me what he really wanted me to be doing. And then I said, oh my God, how did I miss that? And I had to forgive myself and say, it's okay. So with that, family, listen, I love you all. Happy Holy Day of Atonement. You know, my goal is to help us become what? Happier, healthier, wealthier, and experience more love. I want to see us get closer to God. I want to see us walk in our purpose, build these businesses that can usher in a fairer and a new way of life for everybody. Because guess what? When you build that really sharp, innovative, fair company, people from all walks of life are going to come and want to work for you and work with you and support you. And you want to make sure that you're fair, that you're not repeating the same hateful, predatory practices. Just a thought. All right, y'all, don't chip and dip me today. Y'all see the Cash App going across the bottom. Y'all see the donations for the Sajda House. Make sure you support. Make sure you are get your name written down in history. Support the completion of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House. Y'all see y'all sister over here in labor and the baby is stuck in the birth canal. And I need y'all to help me push. All right. So make a donation and enjoy your holy day of atonement. Peace and blessings, family.